All right, welcome back live at Drew's house, another edition. Hope everybody's doing okay out there. We have had our first snow here in Boston, Massachusetts. But Boston, Mass. And my guest, I'm so honored to be joined by Martin Barre, former bandmate of Jethro Tull, former member, great artist on his own right, and has a bunch of music coming out this week. So we're going to talk about that. Very excited about that. But Martin, what an honor. How are you, sir?
Hi, Drew. I'm really good. And snow in Boston. Where have I heard that before?
It's not, nothing to really complain about. Nothing. As I look out the window right now, there are some snow flurries. So that's interesting. It's not sticking or anything, but
I guess it's a novelty for a few days, and then you remember how long it lasts for.
Usually you get the. We got about 4 inches of snow here the other day, which is a little bit unusual for the first snow of the year to be that large. So usually they kind of ease us in a little bit more, but you can't predict these things.
No, you'll be good.
Absolutely. And where are we talking to you from, Martin?
Well, I live near Plymouth, which is a naval port in the southwest of England. Okay. I live sort of outside of the town, and it's very beautiful coastline and good seafood.
All right.
Yeah, it's a good place, but we're about to be locked down in 2 days' time.
I heard the pandemic is getting tough times right now over in Europe. What's it like there? Paint that picture for me.
It's not as bad as March, but it's that they predicting it could get bad, and that's the problem. It's things, especially where we are. The numbers are low, but the R number is what they talk about here, is really high. So that is the key. That the R number means that it's going to really, if we don't do something, it's going to expand really radically. There's no choice, and of course, I'm not an expert, but it's just flattening the curve, because what's going to happen is going to happen anyway, but we're just sort of putting it off. We come out of a lockdown and nothing will have changed. It's still going to be there, and we're going to be back to masks and distance, and it's same deal worldwide, but it's not good here, and it's not good in Europe either.
Well, pretty much. I have a lot of musicians on this show, usually not ones who have packed stadiums for decades like you have, but it's we have a lot of musicians, and I know it's a tough time on musicians. I wonder, this has to be the longest time you've ever gone without performing on stage in your entire life. What has it been like being a musician in quarantine?
It's getting really annoying, because we had the summer off, and I didn't mind, because on reflection, I'd never had a summer off. I'd never ever been at home for a complete summer ever, in 50 odd years. So it was actually really good to be at home and enjoy the weather. And I'm writing music, and this CD, I've done a lot of work on that. And then I've got a DVD coming out in about 2 weeks, and again I'm being busy with that. And I play every day. I mean, I've done that all my life, so a lot of things haven't changed. But now I'm really missing playing live shows, and it's going to get worse. I just need it. But it's the same for everyone, and we're sort of the forgotten segment of the population. The arts sort of gets pushed to one side, because I guess in many ways, quite rightly, other things are more urgent and more important in life. But then musicians, like the guys that work in bars, that sort of live week to week and are out of work. It's really bad. There's a lot of out of work people from music and the arts.
And it's what I noticed, and you do say it's kind of that forgotten segment, but it seems to me it's the thing that everybody turned to when quarantine really got thick and tough was people wanted to turn on their favorite artists virtually streaming and all that. I mean, that's what people turn to, you know?
I think so. Yeah, we're sort of watching loads of movies and Netflix and Amazon, all these sort of. Thank goodness for all of that.
Yeah.
But music is zero, and I've seen 2 live shows, both of the girls, that are on the CD, and one of them I played at. I played an acoustic show with Alex, and it was so nice. It was only to 30 people, but it was just really refreshing to be actually play live music. We're all going to miss it, and I think that the number we're all looking at is 2022.
Really? Is that what most musicians are saying kind of worldwide as far as touring?
Yeah, I think the reality is that there might be a little bit here and there, but it won't be normal. But I think 2022 is the realistic start-up date for getting back on the road and living the life of a musician on the road.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the music. It's a double CD.
Mm-hmm.
Which is very exciting. A lot of music. 50 years of Jethro. Tell me a little bit about it.
It's my 50th anniversary, which is now 2019. So in 1969, we flew to New York. We played a couple of shows at Fillmore East, and then we flew up to Boston in a snowstorm, of course. And it was just fantastic. The 1969 was an amazing. I remember nearly everything about it. So without going into my experiences and things that happened, which were fantastic, it's a celebration of 50 years since then of me being a musician, of being in America particularly, and of fans giving me the opportunity to have a 50-year career in music.
Absolutely, and a lot of this is your own material that you've added to this too. This is not just stuff you played with Jethro Tull. This is stuff that you've crafted, correct?
The 50-year CDs is all Jethro Tull's music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I've arranged a lot of it, and I've sort of added bits and pieces, but essentially the songs are Jethro Tull songs.
Understood. I have to ask you this. We all like to localize these things. What do you remember about the first trip to Boston?
We stayed at Fenway Parkway. Is that a road?
Well, Fenway Park is the Red Sox ballpark.
Fenway Park, okay. Then
the Fenway neighborhood, maybe.
Sorry, there's a tractor outside. We stayed at Fenway, and it was a Holiday Inn. It was thick snow, but it was blue skies, so it was beautiful. And not saying I'd never seen snow before, but it was just different. And in the Holiday Inn was another band called Pentangle. Pentangle, even though they were a folk band, they were crazy. They were more rock and roll than we were. So we were in this hotel for a week with them, and it was interesting.
No kidding.
We just partied a bit.
So you were at the Holiday Inn in the Fenway neighborhood. I just put it together.
Yes, yeah. I don't know where it was, but I know it was Fenway, and I've never been back. Probably not there now.
Is that right? You've never been back?
Well, not to that Holiday Inn.
Okay.
And I've definitely been back to Boston. Been back to Boston many times.
By the time you came back, it was a lot bigger. You guys had grown by then, I take it.
Things changed. We stayed in a nicer hotel when we came back again, and we stayed downtown. But I've always liked to be in Boston. My son lived there for about 3 years. I've got a lot of experiences from Boston, and I mean New York, Philly, Boston, Chicago, Detroit. The northeast of the States was where it all happened for us, and it's always been that sort of focal point of Tull's fans and the music.
What is that like when you're coming up and you're you know you're making good music and you've hit on in some cities, but you're going to this new city, you're going to this place called Boston for the first time, and you know you're hearing that there's a big fan base there, but I mean there must be a part of you that's like, we're not sure if there is. We'll see when we get there. Is that kind of what it's like?
Yeah, well, in the early days it was, but and then it just grew really quickly and big. But then, you know, we've always gone to different countries, different towns where nobody's been before. We were the first band to go to South America, one of the first bands to go to Japan and Australia and New Zealand, Eastern Europe. We went to countries when they were communist, and I think the Czechoslovakia, as it was then, we were, after Elton John, we were the first band. But it's exciting because the kids there are desperate for Western music, and they're just hungry for the experiences. And you get the impact of being one of the pioneers, and it's an incredible feeling. It's exciting, and of course the people just want to hear Western. They don't care who it is. The first time, Western music is what they want to hear. The second time, by the time you go back a year or two later, everybody's been there. So it's a smaller audience, and it's the Jethro Tull fans. But I love it. I love the challenge of playing to people that have no idea who you are, who never heard your music, particularly with my band, because I just always think that if we playing a gig anywhere in the world and somebody walks past and sees us playing, got no idea who we are, and they've got nothing better to do, and they buy a ticket, that by the end of the night, they're smiling and happy and enjoyed the experience. That's what I love.
Absolutely. Martin Barre joining us, former member of Jethro Tull, with a new double 2-disc CD coming out here. I wonder, with this, when you're writing your own songs, I always like to ask the songwriters and the musicians this: is it the lyrics before the music, or the music before the lyrics for you?
In my songwriting, it's the music, because the lyrics are agony and take weeks and weeks and piles of paper. So I write a set of lyrics, sleep on, have a night's sleep, get up in the morning, read them, put them in the bin, start again, and that probably happens 10, 20 times. It's a cop-out. If I was a great lyricist, they would come first. But it's the last chore. The music is easy to me. The lyrics are really difficult.
It struck me when you had mentioned Czechoslovakia and the eagerness for the music. It's kind of what I believe I heard you say in an interview once before, that you all across the pond were all eager to hear the American music, and you took that all in and craved it, and then kind of reworked it and added your own things to it, and that was essentially the British invasion, right? It
was, yeah, and Led Zeppelin did it. Stones did it. Let's face it, we all did it. So we, in the UK in the mid '60s, we had nothing. There was no music. It was everything we wanted to hear was American, and it trickled in. That you might have one LP, Eddie Cochran, 1 month, then you wait another month, and then there'd be a Buddy Holly album. So it was this sort of little tiny supply of information, but everybody pounced on it. We shared records, we wore them out playing them and getting inspiration and learning the music. So we had all those, maybe 3-4 years of getting American music into the UK, and eventually the blues as well. And then it all went into the boiling pot. Whatever came out was, all these English bands, and we brought it back to America. And of course, well, I always think we cheated a bit because we were just bringing it back. But they say it was the British invasion, but wasn't really. We were just letting you know what you've already had.
Yeah. So you come up with all these groups. Was there one of those bands that maybe you hit it off with on the road, but whether it be one of the bands you just mentioned, or maybe somebody else, or maybe an artist that you just really connected with, crossing paths or on the road, and that always stuck with you?
Yeah. Well, the first year we played with Hendrix, we played with Led Zeppelin, Zappa, Chicago,
That is
Grateful Dead.
that
Jeff.
list right there is unbelievable. Just to be able to come up and say that off the tip of your tongue is.
I know. I mean, then it was normal because those were the bands that were touring and emerging. But it was, and I listened to all these people's music, and there they were, that were sharing the stage with them, and it was incredible. I mean, to play on the same stage as Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page and Hendrix was enormous. I was petrified. And then, maybe a year down the line, the first band that I connected with was Mountain, and they were our support band. We broke through in America being the support band of Led Zeppelin, and we had 30 minutes slot before them on stage, and we had this tiny bit of stage at the front to set up on. So we had 30 minutes, then we were off. But that was to win the crowd, and it worked. So the next time we came back, we were headlining. But Mountain were just a great band. They had such a great camaraderie. To watch them I watched them every night. And on stage, they had this connection and this musicality, and that they were jamming. Everybody jammed in those days, but it was magic. What they had between them, and I learned so much just from watching what they did on stage. And and they were great musicians. Leslie's a great guitar player. They're just good people. That was probably the first connection.
The first connection. Is there, obviously you love where you're at. You loved all the fame and getting bigger. I'm sure that rise is like no other adrenaline rush. But is there some sort of, when you're opening for Led Zeppelin, 30 minutes on, off, that's some kind of unique pressure, isn't it? I mean, that's a unique responsibility to get that crowd ready, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because they didn't know us. They just wanted us off so they could see Led Zeppelin. They're like looking at their watches, but they didn't, because they liked it, luckily. But we were lucky to have that. I mean, you imagine being offered a support slot with Led Zeppelin now. It'd be like impossible.
Were they good to you? Were they pretty good to you?
Yeah, they were, and they still are. I see Robert Plant more than any of the others. I've seen them all since, and yeah, they're really good people. They were really good to us, and they were nice, and gave us respect. But they were iconic. That they were up there. They were gods, even to us.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting. I actually I kind of did this by accident, actually. I just noticed I have another band you may have heard of here.
You're a mug, yeah.
It's a different You may have heard of them. What do you get there? What are you working for, a coffee mug? We make it part of the show.
This is strawberries, so let's say it's the strawberry fields.
There you go, okay.
The women with strawberry hats on.
Yeah, right.
It's my wife's mug. But anyway.
Very nice. Well, this is good. Again, Martin Barre joining us, former member of Jethro Tull, releasing all sorts of music, playing still in quarantine. I guess that's how you stay sharp, Martin, right? Is you got to keep playing there, whether it's just to your wife or whoever, right?
My wife. No, I play for my life, not my wife.
Play for your life? Yes.
Yeah. My wife is incredible, and she's from Mississippi. I met her 40 plus years ago.
Oh, wow.
So she's been there all the time, and she's pretty amazing.
I hear the life of a musician is not always the easiest thing in the world. Is that correct?
You better talk to her. I'll bring her in. She might have a lot to say. Yeah, but I live a life of a musician, so I never have to pick my guitar up. I it's quite hard for me to walk past a guitar and not pick it up.
Mhm.
It's the opposite. I've played every day for longer than I can imagine, but probably more than 50 years. I mean, I probably haven't had a couple of days where I haven't played in that period, but essentially most years I play every day. I love it. I enjoy playing, and sometimes I'm learning, sometimes I'm writing, sometimes I'm practicing. Other times I put on somebody's CD and play along to it. In fact, when I make a phone call, you know how you get a recorded message when you're on hold, and it's usually really awful music. We get a lot of that in England. If I'm on hold, I put it on speaker and I play scales to the music.
Just to stay sharp.
Yeah, just something to do. You know, so it's not downtime. It works. So yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yes, some of that music is bad.
It's really bad. You can still play scales to it.
Oh man, that is too funny. I didn't want to go right from the when you mentioned Hendrix. It's sometimes cheesy to jump right to this, but it did remind me. You guys were supposed to play Woodstock, weren't you?
Yeah, we were in New York, and we were booked to fly up there, and then they closed the whole place down.
Man,
Mud and transport just ground to a halt. So yeah, it was frustrating, but now the enormity of that is much more realisable than it was then. But luckily, we played at the Isle of Wight in '71. '71 was the big, was it 70 or 71? It was the big year. Dylan was there, Hendrix was there. Every band in the world was at the Isle of Wight Festival, and they're celebrating it, and they're building a museum on the Isle of Wight, which is a sort of bit like Nantucket Island, really small. But it was a huge event, 600,000 people.
wow.
So it was luckily that made up for it, and it's just been recognised for what it was. It was a huge historic event.
Is that
Woodstock in the Isle of Wight.
Is that nerve-wracking at all? Is it the same? Because I've heard some musicians say it's really not that different than playing to a club, because it's just it ends up just being a mass of people. But I can imagine when it gets that big, the enormity of it must hit you at some point.
Yeah, I can't remember it, but it had to, and it would have done. It would have been totally crazy, out of proportion. But maybe then it scared me. Now I relish it. I love adrenaline. I love nervous anticipation. I want to be scared to get up there and play, because it means you got to work. You got to work the audience. It's I quite thrive on it.
Jethro Tull always had this reputation of being a real kind of a grinding band that earned it coming up from the bottom up, and there were no real shortcuts. Maybe you would take issue with that, but I don't. No, okay, good. So that's fair. But you earned it the whole way through. I wonder. I talk with so many of these younger musicians that are making that climb right now. Some of them you can just tell talented as can be, and this has really stalled them. This not being able to get out there. Yeah. I just wonder, somebody who's made it and is comfortable and is able to sit back, you must feel for those younger musicians a little bit.
Yeah, but I'm not comfortable, and I'm not sitting back.
That's true.
I'm not being funny.
You know what I mean, though.
Oh no, I'm not being funny. I'm not being a smart ass. But essentially, you never lose that drive, and you'd think you would. You go, okay, there's the gold records. There's all the numbers, but no, because every year's the same, every day's the same, every gig's the same. The next gig is exciting. You're hungry for it. It doesn't work that way for me, and I think for a lot of people, it's tough for the young bands. But then when I was 16, 17, 18, the bands didn't make records that you'd have to be on the road for 2, 3, 4 years, and get to a position where a record label would think you were big enough to make a record, whereas now you can make a record as soon as you can play. It's sort of turned around. So in some respects, everything's more accessible and easier. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to say which one I prefer. You know, which option would be better to be starting now or starting then. I think, you know, it's turned around, but it's still good and bad, difficult, easy. It's still the same proportions. But I know that I've never let up with the intensity that I want to work.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that shows. And I'm hearing this is going to be great. What do you want people to know about the new music coming out here, the new release that maybe they don't know? What's going to surprise them? Is it going to be the little tweaks that you put on it, or what?
Yeah, essentially, it's the best band that's ever played Tull's music. That they're young guys, that they're cool, they're rock and roll, they got energy and dynamics. And, you know, here am I, I'm in my 70s, these guys are, but we communicate, you know, there's no barriers there, and they drive me on, and vice versa, that they love the music. It's new to them. It doesn't sound dated, it doesn't sound retro, it's re-energized because of them, and I rearrange it. I don't want it to be standing still, you know, like stagnant water. It's got to move. So it's different. It's fresh, and it's exciting. And I've had to make it that way because otherwise I wouldn't do it. So if you hear it for the first time, it won't sound like music from 50 years ago. I hope it'll just sound good. It's either good or it's bad. You know, I don't care where music's come from or who's done it. It's good music and there's bad music.
You know, I heard another guy around your age who just released new music this week, Springsteen here in the States.
Ah, absolutely. Wow.
And he said that he had an interesting comment. He said, our band, which he did a lot of solo stuff too, so there were breaks, but he said, our band, we have fights just like everybody else. We've had death like everybody else. Having a band together is a really hard thing for a long period of time. He just said it's difficult, but in the end, back to it. What has it been like being in a band your whole life?
I enjoy it. You know, they've all been friends. We've been lucky that we've never had a situation that's ugly. We've all got on really well. I think it's just maturity. We work really, really hard. Tull had a crazy work ethic, but that held us together. So we're never that sort of partying, go crazy band, where you know, I think that instigates the problems. You know, you just sort of drop your guard, you say something you don't mean to say. We just central core of what we did was work. But we got on well. It was a band. I think we maybe lost the thread in the latter years where there were too many changes, and it got diluted. You know, I always say the brand got diluted. But now my band, Tull finished. The band I've got is like the old days. You know, we travel together, work together, eat together. We have a day off together. It's just like this unit that follows, and it's a really nice feeling. In the latter days of Tull, everybody sort of went their own way. You know, lived in different areas. It just changed, and it didn't have that feel of being in a group anymore. And I love having a bunch of guys. I mean, you know, it's the same in any whatever you do in life. You know, you got your best mates. You might go to a ball game. You know, you might have like 5 or 6 of you do everything together, have a night out. It's the best thing in the world. You know, it's you and your mates, and it's fun, and that's what we have now. You know, they're really important to me, and I really like them. That they're my friends, and they're important to me.
Well, that's very sweet. Do they all have thoughts on the? It's election week here in the United States, don't you know? I know you all watch that very closely over there. What are people saying?
Do you really want to know? Am I allowed? Do you really want a political opinion on your show?
It is fine. This is a free-form show. We've had them sneak in before. Give it your best go.
I can tell you about our politicians, and they're a joke because they've all. Somebody said we need a government where they haven't been to Eton. Now Eton's this crazy public school where privileged kids go to, and they got so much money then essentially that they're never going to have to work in their lives. So they come out of this very snobby posh school, and they have no world wise experiences that they can't deal with the world on a normal level. Therefore, they go into politics. And that is our problem. Your problem is, I don't know what your problems are there. All I can say is that many years ago, a few years ago, you could joke about one or the other, Republic, Democratic. It changed. And now I found very quickly that you can't make jokes anymore because people are so serious about their views, and music shouldn't be. No musician should have a voice in politics because they don't know what they're talking about. Essentially, is my belief, and I hear musicians side, and I think, don't do it. That's not your job. You've entertained everybody, every sort of person from every country in the world. Politics doesn't come into music. So, I mean, but we're really intrigued with what's going to happen in the election because the impact on the UK is going to be enormous. Enormous.
It certainly is. I mean, the eyes of the world are watching, no doubt about that.
Really, yeah. It's a one-off. It's never been as important.
It is crazy. It's like I'm only 33, and it's certainly been a year like I have never experienced. Can you remember anything close to this? I mean, obviously,
no, only in a movie.
Yeah.
And then the movie, I think it was called Outbreak with Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah,
I remember seeing it a long time ago, but it was almost like, come on, yeah, a bit of entertainment, but so far fetched. Yeah. And now we're living in it. Oh,
it's crazy.
Yeah, and, people are in denial, or they were. The governments were in denial, and it's all caught up with them. There's no escaping it. It's horrible, as we all know.
The scary thing is, we're both you're in winter. We're about to go into winter here. It could be a tough few months ahead. So hopefully,
yeah. Well, it will be. Yeah, there's going to be people coughing and sneezing all over the place, and you won't know what's wrong with them. It's a nightmare. It's going to be a nightmare. Anyway, but the music it has to transcend all of that. It has to be the light at the end of the tunnel, and it has to be something that we're all going to look forward to, that it's going to carry us away from all our cares and the negative things in life. That's what music has always done. It's an elixir, and it needs to be that. It needs to be non-political, just something that we're going to be doing again, and we're going to go in a room, in a theatre, in a concert hall, in whatever it is, and have a great time.
Absolutely. I can't wait to get back there. I miss it like crazy. We always end the show with rapid fire. First thing that comes to mind, couple quick hitters, all right?
Yes.
Favorite, like near and dear to your heart, the musician that you learn the most of, the guy that you respect the most?
Stevie Winwood.
Steve Winwood, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. I've had the pleasure of seeing him a couple times. Excellent.
Yeah. Can I give you two?
Sure.
Neil Young.
All right, another great one.
Carry on.
you know them both personally? You pretty good friends?
No, I've met Stevie Winwood because it's from Birmingham, where I'm from.
Okay.
And but Neil Young, no. But I play after the Gold Rush all the time, and I have done since I bought it when it came out.
I always get derailed on the rapid fire, but you want to know a heartbreaking Neil Young story? So I'm in the kitchen the other, probably 4, 5, 6 months ago, and it's getting into the summertime here. My wife teaches and has a bunch of younger teachers under her. So this is like young 20-year-olds that are hanging out, little house party. And long story short, the song "Higher Love" by Steve Winwood has been remade here, and it's by some very different version by a female artist who I'm sure is fantastic, but it's a lot of different sounds are piped in, and I said, oh, a Steve Winwood cover. And the 20-year-olds looked at me and said, I'm sorry, what? They thought they thought it was an original. I was like, no.
It's going to happen.
Yeah,
it's going to happen. But the good thing is somebody's going to tell them about Steve Winwood, and they might just Google him and go on YouTube.
There you go. Let's hope that happened. Favorite venue you ever played?
The next one.
Oh, that's a great answer. Favorite city in the States?
Chicago.
Chicago. What'd you like about Chicago?
My best friend lives there, Paul Hamer.
Lovely.
Who built Hamer guitars.
Excellent. And what is the one piece of advice that you would like every young musician, because we have a lot of them on here, what's the one piece of advice you give?
Be your own person.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Martin Barre, what a pleasure this was. I hope you enjoyed it, man. I did a lot. This was a pleasure and an honor. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're very welcome of it. Have fun.
Absolutely.
Sorry about the light.
No, I think it's kind of, it's cold out. I like it.
It's just broken.
We lights out off the end of the interview.
It's just broken. That's hilarious.
Well, that's probably our time to go. Martin, I really enjoyed it. Thank you for doing this, man. Stay safe. I hope you and your family are all safe, okay?
Yeah, and to you too. Nice talking to you, Drew.
Nice talking to you. We'll see you soon. All right.
Yeah, bye. Bye.
All right, how about that? Martin Barre of Jethro Tull, a rock and roll legend. Sometimes these things just happen. Fantastic. Not too often you get a guy just kind of casually says who the biggest names you've ever played with, and Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, who else do you say? Pink Floyd, The Who. Usually when those names come up, you're kind of a big deal. Martin Barre of Jethro Tull. What an honor that was to have him on the show. So I enjoyed that very much. Some good conversations, some good Boston talk too. That was a nice little local thing there. And we kind of covered a lot of ground. That was a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed that. I had my music mug, Beatles mug, for the show. And that was a lot of fun. That's how we'll end the week. Go check out his music there. That was... I'm going to go grab that. It seems intriguing. The two disc set, Jethro Tull. Sounds good. It's coming out this week, so get on it. It's snowing again. Flurrying. I can see it. Crazy. What are we doing here? It's just November. Pre-Halloween snow, what was that all about? Come on, people. Have a good one, everybody. Live at Drew's house. Until next time.